Right, hello everybody. So yeah, basically I've had a question about copying over games. I'm going to say it's specifically PS2 games um, through Element 4.88. I'm going to have to stress that some of the glitches here aren't just multi-man, it's actually the firmware itself that it's actually running. The reason I put 4.88 on there is it allows you to go online. Um, so the first thing is that if you're not going online, then the latest Rebug Lite firmware is absolutely fine. And a lot of these problems just go away once you put Rebug on there. However, once you do that, you can't go online, or it's at the very least a bit of a pain. There are patches that you have to do for the system that you're on 4.88, and it all just gets a little bit complicated. So I don't really want that for my buyers. I want a more plug and play system. As far as I knew, if it didn't came up with the name first time on a restart of multi-man, it would tend to come up the second time. I did have a customer saying that it took several times, up to 10 times sometimes, and I thought that's a bit odd. He found a way that suited him where he was able to put the disc in and press refresh at the same time, something along those lines, to get the name up almost first time every time. But sometimes a name doesn't come up. Now, I've not had that myself, but he did label a few games of which escape me at the moment. It doesn't matter for the sake of this tutorial though. Basically, if you do get a game and it comes up with numbers, then that's the game reference. If it comes up with a name, that's great. As long as it's not PS2 disc, if it comes up with a name or numbers or whatever, I think in his case it was like several numbers dot a few other numbers, so it was definitely a number reference, and that's probably how multi-man's picked up the game. But that doesn't help you much because you want to know what the game is. Now, when you copy over the game, it does. If you go into retro, you do see here that you have got you've actually got a bin and a Q file. It doesn't tell you what's what though. So if you delete one, then if it's the wrong one, you've got to do the whole thing again. So what I'm going to show you now is how to change the name and how to delete the Q file, so that basically you're left with the main ISO file, and then you're able to change the name of the game. Currently, if you try and change it, I don't think it allows you. Let me just go to rename. This operation is not allowed. If you try and do it on the other file, rename, it allows it, but I think if I then try and change it, it will then say it doesn't match the file. Oh, it did actually allow it. However, that's not the right way to do it. Let me just rename that again. That could cause problems actually, because if the bin and the queue are different names, then I think that could cause problems as well. So that's not the right way to do it either. So yeah, let's just put him back to Grand Theft Auto. Right, so we're back to our bin on queue file. So this is how I do it, okay? So I press the triangle button and I go to File Manager, okay? So you press triangle, you're on the load, and you go down to File Manager -MMOS. And what it does is it immediately takes you to Dev HDD0 PS2 ISO. Now this is where it puts all your games, all right? Which is great. What you can do from here is you can see the Q file. It's a small file and it's 84 kilobytes. Okay, so what we need to do is press triangle, okay, not press triangle, press circle, and then go to delete. And now you'll just be left with Grand Theft Auto Grand Theft Auto 3 ISO. And from here, you just quit out and go back to game. All right. Then from here, refresh, and now you've got one file, which is Grand Theft Auto. Now from here, we can go to rename, and I can call this pretty much anything I like. So say for example I wanted to abbreviate it to GTA 3. Oh, hang on. GTA space 3, and it has to be .iso, and then press enter. Yeah, you can see it's now changed the name to GTA 3. And now I can go into that, press X, and from the hard drive it's now going to play GTA 3. So changing the name has made no bearing to how it runs. There it is. Now obviously that was correctly labelled Grand Theft Auto 3, but it could have been a set of numbers. I would have still been able to have changed it, just like I changed that name that was there. And yeah, so basically that's how it's done. I'm just going to quit out of this for the moment. Okay, so I'm just going to recap for you. You go into multiman, and it may take a couple of attempts, but as long as you see something other than PlayStation 2 disc, you know that the system is ready to create the ISO. It's labelled it's labelled your ISO. If it's labelled it with the correct name, great. You don't need to do this. If it hasn't, then basically you can then go into it and change the name. So if we go into it again, rename, and as you can see here, I've done the same with Sonic Heroes. I've taken away the Q file, so we're just left with the main ISO file. And just to show you that that works as well, I'm just going to click on it. And we'll now start that. And I changed it from Sonic Heroes to Sonic Hero, took the S off, made no difference to how the game ran. So if you're finding, like one of my customers, Lewis, did, that basically you're getting a lot of numbers, then that's how you change it. You delete the Q file. By doing that, to do that you have to go into the desktop version of multiman. By selecting that through the triangle option on the game, it takes you straight to where you need to be. You delete the Q file, you quit out of that, and you go back to game on the desktop. It takes you back to the menu that you're familiar with. You then go down to, you refresh. At this point you will now see just one file instead of two. You then go down to the file that you want to change the name on, you press the triangle button, and then from there you press the backspace button. I think that's L1 at the top. You leave the .iso, you take all the numbers out that it's actually given, and then you put in the correct name of the disk. Okay guys, that's everything. Hope that helps, and yeah. If you've got any questions, you know where to get me. Alright, cheers, bye.